Standards are nothing but the criteria or the benchmark which has to be achieved. In the controlling function can be applied only for the internal affairs of the organization, but for the external factors which affect the organization, they have little or no control at all. When we are planning, we will be just thinking of what to do, but in controlling, we will be just seeing whether the work is done as per the plans. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. I welcome you all to this session. In this revision class on controlling, we will be discussing these various topics under controlling here. First one is meaning of controlling, importance of controlling, limitations, relationship between planning and controlling, and the controlling process. A very small chapter, but it is very important from the examination point of view. See why it is a small chapter? Because the syllabus has been deleted for this year. So for this year, the controlling techniques has been deleted. So we will only have to study about the meaning, importance, limitations, relationship, and the controlling process. And from the examination point of view, this is a very important chapter because you can expect any 4 marks questions from this chapter. 4 markers, 2 markers, and 1 marks questions. You will not have any 8-mark question from this chapter. Now let us understand what is the meaning of the word controlling. So controlling is one of the important functions of a manager. It means ensuring that activities in an organization is performed as per the plans. So we all know that the manager is the one person who will be managing the organization, and as such the controlling is one factor or one function which the manager has to do. So he ensures that activities in an organization is performed as per the plans. It also ensures that an organization's resources are being used effectively and efficiently for the achievement of predetermined goals. So all the resources of the organization, they are being utilized efficiently. So there should be a control over the resources. So only if we have a control over the resources, we can make the best use of the resources. Then controlling is thus a goal-oriented function. So we know that it is a goal-oriented function because if you can just see it, if you can just recollect what is the definition of management, the main aim of management is to achieve the organizational goals. So each function of management also is directed towards the achievement of the goals of the organization. Then controlling exists at all levels of management. It is only with the help of controlling we will be able to ensure that the plans or the activities of the organization are going on as per the plans. So if you have a standard plan, so only then you will be able to control. So planning and controlling both should go hand in hand. Then next, let us understand what is the importance of controlling. So accomplishing organizational goals. So it will help in accomplishing the organizational goals. How it will accomplish? It measures the progress towards the organizational goals and brings to light the deviations, if any, and indicates corrective action. So this is the goal of the organization, the goals of the organization. So what is the goal of the organization and what are the plans to reach the goals? So that we will be able to ensure only with the help of controlling. So it measures the progress towards the organizational goals. So what is the goal of the organization and what is the progress? How we are progressing towards the goal. So this controlling will measure how far we are from the goal, and if there are any deviations, it will bring to light and it will ensure that there is corrective action taken on time. So in this way, we can ensure that the organizational goals are reached on time. Second one is judging the accuracy of standards. A good control system enables the management to verify whether the standards set are accurate and objective. See, how do we set the standards? What is the meaning of the word standard? Standards are nothing but the criteria or the benchmark which has to be achieved. So this kind of a benchmark has to be set by the management, and it is with the help of the controlling function we will be able to check the accuracy of the standards of management. Then, third importance of controlling is making the efficient use of resources. So, whatever resources you have, so by exercising control, he seeks to reduce wastage and spoilage of resources. Each activity is performed in accordance with predetermined standards and norms. So, here each activity is determined as per the standards and norms. So, you fix a standard and then you see how the work is going on and compare it with the standard. So only when it matches the standard, that work is perfect. But if it does not match the standard, then again we have to rework on the work done. So that is why we say that it helps in making the efficient use of resources, whether it is the human resource or whether it is the money or whether it is the materials, all, or whether it is the time, everything has to be put to the most efficient use. Then fourth one is improving employee motivation. Now, how do we improve employee motivation in controlling? It ensures that employees know well in advance what they are expected to do and what are the standards of performance on the basis of which they will be appraised. So, improving employee motivation means here the employees will know what is the work expected from them. Since they have just decided the standard goal for each of the employee, so the employee will work towards this goal, and when he works towards this goal and when he achieves this goal, it will be a motivating factor for him. Why? Because he has reached the benchmark set by the organization, and it will be a motivating factor for him to perform better. So in this way, we can always ensure that there is employee motivation. Then next one is ensuring order and discipline. It creates an atmosphere of order and discipline in the organization. It helps to minimize dishonest behavior on the part of the employees by keeping a close check on their activities. Now, controlling, with the help of controlling, we will be able to ensure that there is order and discipline in the organization. It is only when we are controlling the people, we will be able to create order in the organization. So, whenever there is no control, you cannot ensure that order and discipline is there in the organization. With the help of controlling, we will be able to ensure discipline in the organization. There should be a fear of punishment or a penalty or a fine, as a result of which the employees will be forced to behave in a particular way. So they should obey the rules and regulations of the organization, failing which they will be having the punishment. So this fear of punishment will ensure that there is order and discipline within the organization. The next importance of controlling is facilitating coordination action. It provides direction to all activities and efforts for achieving the organizational goals. So with the help of controlling, we will be able to give directions for all the activities of the organization. Each employee and the department is governed by predetermined standards which are well coordinated with one another. So for each department and employee, so they are governed by the standards set for each of them. So if they have to reach the standard, there has to be coordination between the employees and between the department. So in this way, it facilitates coordination in the organization. Now, we have just studied the importance of controlling. You can expect a 4-mark questions from the importance of controlling. Then, the next important topic here is limitations of controlling. Now, what are the limitations of controlling? First one is difficulty in setting quantitative standards. Now, what is the difficulty here? Control system loses some of its effectiveness when standards cannot be defined in quantitative terms. So, for controlling to be, when we have to control something in the organization, we need to have a standard. Now, if you are having difficulty in setting up the standard, then it will be hard for the management to control in the organization. So, it loses some of its effectiveness when standards cannot be defined in quantitative terms. There are certain aspects of management which cannot be set up in quantitative terms. For example, the amount of motivation the employees have, we cannot measure it in terms of quantity, and also we cannot quantify the job satisfaction of the employees. So all these are certain terms which cannot be quantified. So for all these aspects, we cannot have this controlling function. This makes the measurement of performance and their comparison with standards a difficult task. Then the next one is little control on external factors. Generally, an enterprise cannot control external factors such as government policies, technological changes, competition, etc. So, in the controlling function can be applied only for the internal affairs of the organization. But for the external factors which affect the organization, they have little or no control at all. So, why do we say that? The first one is the government policies. If the government policies are not favorable for the organization, then the organization has little control over the government. Then the technological changes. When there is a new technology available in the market, and it will be with the help of which the company is able to just cut down the cost of the product, such technological changes, the company does not have any control. Then competition. So the rival products, whatever are there in the market, so we cannot control the competition in the market. So there are certain external factors over which the company cannot have any control. Third one is resistance from the employees. They often resisted by the employees. They see it as a restriction on their freedom. See, whenever the employers start controlling the employees start resisting it. They don't like to be controlled. They don't like to be observed. So, as such, the employees will start resisting this kind of controlling by the management. Next one is costly affair. Control is a costly affair as it involves a lot of expenditure, time and effort. A small enterprise cannot afford to install an expensive control system. So, the last limitation of controlling is it is a costly affair. Now, why do we call it as a costly affair? Because in controlling, we will be, if you are having CCTV camera around all over the organization, and if you are observing all the activities of the employees, they will naturally resist it. They will not like to be observed always. So this kind of resistance from the employees will be natural for any organization, and as such, controlling is a costly affair because to insert all the CCTV cameras all over the organization, it will be really very costly, and small organizations, they cannot afford to have this kind of a CCTV everywhere. So that is why we say that controlling is a costly affair. Then let us understand. So we all know that controlling can exist only if there is proper planning. So planning and controlling both are the Siamese twins of management. So they are inseparable. So if you are having planning, only then you can have controlling. But if there you don't have any plan, then what will you control? So let us understand what is the relationship between planning and controlling. So they are the inseparable twins of management. So the planning, wherever there is planning, there has to be controlling. So both are go hand in hand. A system of control presupposes the existence of certain standards. So these standards of performance, which serve as the basis of controlling, are provided by the planning. So if you can see here, there is a plan. They have a plan for the entire month and first, second, third and all this. So this is the plan they have for the month. And when we create deadlines or when we set standards, so that is provided by planning. Whereas in controlling, we will be observing what is the deadline, have we met the deadline or not, have we reached the standard or not. So controlling will ensure or it will just check on what is the work done, whereas planning will tell us what is the work to be done. So planning and controlling both go hand in hand. Then the next one is, once a plan becomes operational, controlling is necessary to monitor the progress, measure it, discover deviations, and initiate corrective measures to ensure that events conform to plans. So once a plan becomes operational, controlling becomes very, very important. So we have to ensure that all the activities are going as per the plans. So in order to measure what amount of activities are going on, so to monitor the progress, to measure the progress, discover the deviations, initiate corrective measures, for all this we need controlling. Thus, planning without controlling is meaningless. So we have to ensure that wherever there is a plan, there should be control also. Then, planning is clearly a prerequisite for controlling. It seeks consistent, integrated and articulated programs, while controlling seeks to compel events to conform to the plans. So we say that planning and controlling, both planning is a prerequisite for controlling. So why do we say that? So in planning we have an articulated program, while controlling seeks to compel events to conform to the plans. So when we are planning, we will be just thinking of what to do, but in controlling we will be just seeing whether the work is done as per the plans. Planning is basically an intellectual process involving thinking, articulation and analysis to discover and prescribe appropriate course of action for achieving the objectives. So we all know that planning is a mental exercise and it is an intellectual process where the main part of planning is decision making. So we take decisions. So we decide what we have to do in future, and based on those future plans, we will be just putting the standards or setting the steps, or we will be just choosing that path which will take us to that goal. So it involves thinking, articulation, analysis and prescribe the appropriate course of action. So when we have decided to do something, then we will be just selecting that course of action which will lead us to our goal. Then controlling, on the other hand, checks whether decisions have been translated into desired action. Planning is thus prescriptive, whereas controlling is evaluative. So controlling function, it will check whether whatever decisions you have taken, whether we are moving in that course of action, whether the steps taken by us whether it will lead us to that path or goal. So it is ensured with the help of controlling, whereas planning is prescriptive. Planning will tell us what to do, but controlling it will just say whether we are doing it in the right way or not. Planning is prescriptive, controlling is evaluative. Planning is looking ahead, while controlling is looking back. So in planning, we look ahead, but in controlling, we look back. So what is this looking ahead and looking back? Planning is futuristic. So what we have to become in the future, so that is planning. Controlling is, so we will be just seeing what is the course of action which leads to that plan. Plans are prepared for future and are based on forecasts about future conditions. So for the future conditions, we will be making the plans, but in controlling, it is a post-mortem of past activities to find out deviations from the standards. So in planning, you will be setting up the standards, but in controlling, we will check whether the standards are met or not. Planning is guided by past experiences and corrective action initiated by the control function aims to improve future performance. So, planning is guided by the past experience and corrective action initiated by control function. So, whenever we are planning, we will be thinking about the previous plans, how we had formed them, and also what are the various ways in which the plans had to be controlled. So controlling will help us to make the future plans, and in this way it will help us to enhance the future performance. Planning based on facts makes controlling easier and effective. So whenever we are planning, it should always be based on facts. As a result of which, controlling becomes effective. Controlling improves the future planning by providing information derived from past experience. So, controlling helps the future planning by providing information about the past experience. Next, let us understand what is the controlling process. So, in the controlling process, the first one is setting the performance standards. So what is the meaning of standards? Standards are the criteria or the benchmark which the department or each employee has to achieve. So standards are the criteria against which the actual performance would be measured. Thus, standards serve as benchmarks towards which an organization strives to work. So standards are set by the controlling function. So we will be checking the actual performance with the standards. Then standards can be set in both quantitative as well as qualitative terms. Then it is important that standards should be flexible enough to be modified whenever required. Due to changes taking place in the internal and external business environment, standards may need some modification to be realistic in the changed business environment. Now, when we are setting the standards, we have to ensure that the standards set are flexible enough. Now, why do we say that? See, the business environment keeps on changing. As a result of which, the standards also have to be changed. In order to adapt the business to the changed environment, we need to have standards that are subject to modification, or those standards which are flexible enough so that they will be just adapting themselves to the business environment. So, the first step in the controlling process is setting up the standards. Then, the next one is measurement of actual performance. Performance should be measured in an objective and reliable manner. There are several techniques for measurement of performance. Now, in this, the measurement of performance, we should ensure that they should be objective and in a reliable manner. So, there are various techniques of management to just measure the performance. It should be measured as the same units at which the standards are set, as this would make the comparison easier. So, whenever we are measuring the actual performance, it should be in the same units as the standards. Only then it will help us to make the comparison easier. The measurement of a company's performance may involve calculation of certain ratios like gross profit ratio, net profit ratio, return on investment at periodical intervals. So all the analysis of the financial statements, it will help us to know whether the company is doing well or not. So progress of work in certain operating areas like marketing may be measured by considering the number of units sold, increase in market share, etc. So there are various criteria for each department of the organization. For example, in marketing, the measurement can be considered by seeing the number of units sold and also what is the market share of the organization in the entire market. Now, the step 3 in the controlling process is comparing the actual performance with the standards. So what is this comparison with the standard? It will reveal the deviation between actual and the desired result. Comparison becomes easier when standards are set in quantitative terms. Now, when standards are set in quantitative terms, so suppose you are setting the quantity of 100 units, production of 100 units for each employee. So that is the standard every employee has to reach. Now, when you're setting the standard of 100 units, so most of the employees, they will try to reach this 100 unit or they may exceed this 100 unit also. So in this way, we will be able to ensure that the employees are working as per the standards set. Then next one is analyzing the deviation. Some deviation in performance can be expected in all activities. It is therefore important to determine the acceptable range of deviations. Now, suppose you have a standard of 100 units for the employees every day. Then suppose some have reached 99 or 98 units while others have reached 105, 107 units. Then there are some people who are just able to reach 85 or 75. Now for these people, we have to just see why is it they are not able to reach the standards? What is the cause for the deviation? So we will be just thinking about why these people are able to reach this 105 and 102, whereas there are some people who are not able to reach the standards. Then next one is critical point control and management by exception should be used by the manager in this regard. So we call it as the CCP, that is the critical control point or the CCP. Now what is this CCP? See, as a critical point control, it should focus on key result areas, that is KRS. So what are the KRS? Which are critical to the success of an organization. The key result areas are set as the critical points. If anything goes wrong at the critical point, the entire organization suffers. Now, what is this critical point control? So, we have to identify what are the critical points in the organization. If something goes wrong in the critical point, then the entire organization has to suffer. Second one is management by exception. Significant deviations which go beyond the permissible limit should be brought to the notice of management. So, in this management by exception, so the management will step in only when there is any unusual event going on in the organization. Then, if there is an unusual incident or event, only then the management will step in and start controlling. Otherwise, in normal routine, the management will not disturb the production or whatever activities going on in the organization. This kind of controlling process, we call it as management by exception. Then, the next step in the controlling process is taking corrective action. Corrective action might involve training of employees if the production target could not be met. So, Taking corrective action. So as I told you earlier, if there is a standard set for 100 units, if the employee is able to reach only 75 to 85 units, then what is the corrective action you are taking? See that he is given proper training. See that the employees are properly trained so that he becomes more efficient in his job. So if an important project is running behind schedule, corrective action might involve assigning of additional workers and equipment to the project and permission for overtime work. So, if you have a project which has to be met within the deadline, and then it is not able to just keep up with the deadline, then what happens is you have to ensure that there is an overtime work to be done, and you ensure that there is more workers given and also additional workers and equipment to the project and permission for overtime work. So in order to see that you reach the deadline. So that will be the corrective action taken in order to meet the deadline of the organization. So all the concepts, whatever I have discussed in this controlling chapter, they are very, very important. Please make a note of it. Hope you have all followed it. Thank you.